Ready? Let's go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd say get to your seats, but we're at capacity, and there's some space in a room over that's being piped into. I'd like to welcome you all tonight to the Red Deer Firefighters All-Candidate Forum for City Council and Mayor. It's our first one, so thanks for coming. It's a great turnout. I'd like to acknowledge that we're on traditional territory of Treaty 6 and 7 and home to many Indigenous and Métis peoples. I'd like to thank our volunteers for organizing this from our local and all the candidates for showing up. We do have a couple of candidates. I will acknowledge that Thomas Sipkes, Tristan Brisebois, Kramer Barnstable, they send their regrets. They had previous commitments for traveling and they were gone tonight. We had to change the date. So we'll go from there. I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I do want to make a quick note. This whole campaign that the firefighters have organized since we started back in, I believe, June, was homegrown. This was all done by your Red Deer firefighters, the men and women of the Red Deer Fire Department. We felt the unsafe, absolutely. The dynamic staffing policy that came in effect in January was felt hard by our membership, and it is dangerous. We know that, we live it every day, and we want to protect our community and our firefighters, and that's what this campaign is about, and it will continue to be about. It's not about arbitration, not about negotiations. So I just want to put that out there in the public because I know there's a lot of rhetoric about that. Without further ado, our moderator tonight is Brad LaFortune. I've known Brad for quite a while. He's worked, he was the Chief of Staff for the Labour Minister back with Minister Gray, and now he's running Public Interest Alberta. So I'll turn the mic over to Brad, and we'll have a good night. Thanks for everybody for coming.
Good crew. All right. So can you hear me okay? Right on. Okay, so as Brad said, I'm Brad, so you won't forget my name. I appreciate you all coming out here tonight to experience some local democracy. As you can see, we have a very full room. There's a couple chairs at the very front if people want to sit down. Otherwise, it's standing room only. I'm very excited to be here tonight. I haven't been on stage with this many people who are running for office for a long time. So let's give them a big round of applause. It takes a lot to put your name forward. And I'm gonna be very brief because we have a lot of ground to cover tonight. But I do want to start off by saying that it's very important for us to come together and talk about local elections because these are the folks who are going to be running your city. And the future of Red Deer is very, very bright. It's a growing city, it's a big city, and it's an awesome city. I went to Red Deer College here before it became the Polytechnic. I worked at the Safeway downtown, so I have a history here, and it's a city that I really have come to love, and it's great to be back. So thank you for inviting me to be here tonight. A word on our format, just very clearly, there will be no spankings, okay? There will be no threats of spankings, okay? And if Bruce McAllister is in the room, no threats of spanking. So just very clearly on that. We also want to get right into it. So we're going to have a tight format. We'll do introductions, then we'll get into core services and talk about emergency services and fire, of course, because that's why many of us are here. I see a lot of yellow shirts. And then we'll have an opportunity to talk about vision for the city going forward. And so we ask you to hold your questions to the end. We do have the room until 11 o'clock, although that's pretty late. We won't keep you that long. Everyone's got to get home, get ready for Thanksgiving. This will be live streamed, I believe. So if people can check it on home, or if people couldn't make it today, you can let people know it will be live streamed. Also, feel free to take pictures, take video, take notes. This is part of a conversation that leads toward Election Day, so it's very important that we have an open conversation here and that we get the best information possible because participation in democracy is what it's all about, folks. So, without further ado, I will invite all of our candidates, wow, 21 folks on stage here, to give introductions and try to keep it to a minute tops, if you can. I know that's a tall order. And so what we'll do is we'll start here and we'll go around the room. You get first, you're up. Come on up.
Wow. Good evening. Thank you all very much for coming. My name is Christian Comet, and I am running for City Council here in Red Deer. My diverse background from a military discipline and high-stakes criminal investigation success to business leadership makes me uniquely qualified to address our city's public safety and financial challenges with both firmness and required and the innovation Red Deer deserves. I stand with our fire medics, having personally toured Fire Hall 5 and had lengthy discussions with our fire union. We must develop a comprehensive economic plan that restores safety and efficiency. As a candidate committed to public safety and fiscal prudence, I believe the City Council has supported a policy that creates serious operational challenges and may compromise community safety. This issue is not simply about budget management, it's about transparency and accountability. The data presented by the Red Deer Firefighter Medics, IAFF Local 1190, in their report, Dynamic Staffing, Facts Not Feelings, makes it clear that the current model requires urgent reevaluation. We must move beyond administration rhetoric and address the facts on the ground. Thank you very much.
We all agreed earlier, if you're not nervous, there's something wrong with you. So I'm nervous. I'm Gareth Scott, and I'm running for mayor. This city is a jewel in the middle of Alberta. This city needs to take its place back as the hub of Central Alberta, the engine of Central Alberta. Speaking of engines, this firefighters campaign is not about them, it's about safety. It's about their safety as well as our safety. And right now, we have wrongly taken the wrong approach to all of this. We need to change how we deal with our emergency services. A little about myself. I started digging ditches, became a journeyman millwright, and through hard work, grit, and determination, rose to senior manager's positions, all the while owning small businesses. I've worked in oil and gas, agriculture, forestry, construction. In my career, I've been responsible for managing large complexes, finances, human resources, infrastructure, projects, multi-million-dollar projects. My commitment to you is clear. With my management experience, I will work with the CAO, Council, and we will bring financial discipline and change to this city, which we need. I will champion growth so all families get a fair opportunity in this city. I will also review all financial procedures. I know I'm told all the time, you can't do that. My response is, watch me. I will change it.
Thank you to everyone for coming. I'm Jaylene Tweedle, and I'm running for council. My upbringing in a small rural Alberta town laid the cornerstone for my values of hard work and community, principles that have guided my actions throughout my 17 years in Red Deer. I've consistently demonstrated my commitment to supporting, fostering growth, assuming leadership roles, initiatives that benefit our community, and bringing all voices to the table. As we work towards balanced and forward-thinking policies surrounding budget and taxation, increased advocacy on behalf of the city, ensuring our public services are adequately staffed, supported, and funded, and creating best possible situations for businesses and citizens to thrive, we must always remain focused on transparency and a commitment to those who serve. To the firefighters union that brought us here tonight, we have come to a place where we are sitting at a 99% non-confidence vote. And that is something that does not come about overnight. That is a sign that there are probably concerns that have been brought up long before that have been put to the side. These voices are the ones on the ground, on the front lines, literally saving lives, protecting lives, and we need to take their voices seriously. We need to have them heard, and tonight hopefully will be a good step in that direction.
I don't know if I can compete with the moving wall. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hans Housing. It was never my intention that my last name become one of the issues here in town, but it has. Housing has something that we in Red Deer have been looking for a long time for all citizens. I am proposing that we change some of the bylaws so that we can actually create tiny home communities within our city. There are families who are struggling financially. They will never be on the property ladder. We need to rethink what that property ladder should look like. Tiny homes also provides opportunities to create small communities so that we can actually look at ways to bring people into their own roof, because then we can create stability. One of the things that we see with this particular evening, that a few people can make great change. We see this with the firefighters, but it's also the job of a city council to create sustainability, stability, and safety. And we need to make certain that we do that for all of our citizens, especially those that are the most vulnerable. I'm also advocating for a change to what's happening with the hospital. It's a fantastic project, but they're shoehorning more and more into a very small area. I would like to see an urgent care center being built in the northeast part of the city, because it is time for us to look at resources for everyone rather than having to travel to Sylvan or Innisfail or Lacombe. I have other ideas, but I know everybody here has lots of ideas too. But I would like you to think of Hans Housing, who can create consensus among council. Thank you.
Well, good evening, and thank you for coming out on a Friday of a long weekend. This is an important issue for you, and it's an important issue for everyone in this room as well. My name is Bruce Burma. I'm currently serving on City Council, and I will say this is one of the most challenging issues that we have faced as a group. It is a complex issue. It is one that has a lot of emotion to it, and I want you to be assured that that emotion is on both sides. One of the things that I did when I started on council is I asked to go on a ride along, and got to do that at Station 2. And it provided a good opportunity to talk to staff. It provided an opportunity to understand what some of the challenges and issues are. I've also had an opportunity to meet with the IAFF executive, and I've had some good conversations there. That's where this is going to start. And part of the reality being on City Council is this is an issue of both excellence in service and sustainability for our community. And we're going to have to find the right balance for that and work on that together. I think this crowd shows that this is a huge priority, and it's one of those matters that will be top of line with the new City Council in terms of trying to find a way we can work through this together. Thank you.
Is it turned on? Good evening. Can you guys hear me? Hello? That's better. Good evening. Thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you to the Red Deer Firefighters for hosting us all tonight. I'm Haley Weil, and I'm running for City Council. I believe that the biggest challenge that the Red Deer Emergency Services faces is the inability to do the job that they're trained to do. There's nothing worse than having the knowledge and the skill to do a good job, but not the proper tools or support. I am one of many people who thought, it will never happen to me. And I'm here to tell you it did. And from someone who laid in a ditch for 10 hours, I know full well what it feels like to wait for EMS. Even though the circumstances of my accident and wait time may be different, I would hate to see anyone in a situation like mine or their house on fire, waiting for Red Deer Emergency Services to show up and for it to be too late. We need a standard for safety in our great city, and I will fight to keep that standard. Please vote Haley Weil on October 20th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Haley, for that. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Victor Dirksen, and I am running for mayor. I came to Red Deer in 1990 via a transfer with the Bank of Montreal. This city has been good to our family, and I'm blessed that all of our kids, all of our grandkids, have chose to make Red Deer home. I'm running for mayor to complete the job that I began, to restore trust and confidence in how our city is governed, especially when it comes to financial management. I've championed motions that resulted in capital project reconciliations, stronger budgeting principles, and new approaches like zero budgeting for select departments. These steps are rebuilding confidence in how Red Deer makes and manages decisions. I believe that consistent, purposeful leadership is key to keeping that momentum going. A mayor does not govern alone. It takes teamwork, aligning 8 councilors, city staff, and our citizens, our community all together. That takes vision, focus, and experience to lead with purpose. Thank you.
I promise you I'm not drinking. I promise you my movement up here is a little challenge because I lost my hearing in an ear, and so it's left me unbalanced. No laughter over that one, please. Good evening, everyone. Thanks to the Firefighters Association for giving us this opportunity with this forum. My name is Gail Parks. I'm running for City Council. With 20 years' experience working for federal and provincial members and 9 years of council experience, I would hope to bring that to City Council. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for coming this evening. I think this is my biggest job interview to date. My name is Cassandra Curtis, and I'm not related to Craig. I'm running for City Council. I have a background in psychology, criminology, and public policy. I'm a 2024 40 Under 40 honoree, which demonstrates my leadership and dedication in the community. I've been working in the social sector for 14 years. This has included working with institutional and community corrections, RCMP, and community organizations. I'm running to address social issues in the community. The fact that we do not have places for those experiencing homelessness to be housed is creating significant public safety issues in our community. This has led to encampments, which leads to uncontained fires, open substance use, and debris. Our municipality has spent almost $3 million in the last 4 years to clean up encampments, with 106,000 tons of debris being cleaned up in 2024. Our emergency services resources are also responding to these issues. This is leading to increased costs and burnout. This is not a solution. This is an expensive Band-Aid. Ultimately, everyone deserves to feel safe in our community.
Good evening. My name is Zainab Mahmoud. I'm been Red Deer 15 years. I have a sociology degree at UFC. I have a social work diploma at the RDP. I have been spending 2 decades working human services, include work with migrant families, working with unhoused individuals, people facing addictions. I'm also the founder and executive director African Caribbean Center. I'm also founder Afro-Caribbean Festival, and we work with firefighters, always there for us and helping with the festival and leading the situation right now. I'm really heartbroken, and I hope that we can fix it that as I get elected. So Zainab Mahmoud, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Adam Goodwin here. I'm running for City Council. I'm going to introduce myself a little bit differently this time. I'm going to leave the business and the operations behind. I'm going to introduce myself in terms of what matters to this room. I was an industrial firefighter. I was trained at Texas A&M. I was trained at Vermilion on the operations emergency response team through Nova Chemicals and multiple other oil and gas companies throughout Alberta. I have the ICS 100, 200, 300, and operations section chief qualifications. I've taken part in drills, actual evacuations, actual responses. I have a great deal of experience in what the men and women who we're talking about here tonight actually face all the time. I don't want to pretend like I have the decades of experience that the folks do. However, I know where they're coming from. And to me, the safe staffing issue doesn't need to be an issue. The fact that we're having a forum discussing this is kind of disconcerting in a city the size of Red Deer. We absolutely need to get everybody to the table, discuss the merits, the strengths, and the weaknesses, and the ideas that I know the union have to make this a better system. Yes, we've got a financial burden to deal with. I've chatted with the union executive. They understand that. They're not trying to fight that. They want to be involved. Yes, we've got now putting people at risk. And this idea of dynamic staffing is the type of thing that people say, oh, it works. Well, it's the type of thing that it works until it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, people get hurt and die. So I think that we as a city need to stand up and make sure that we protect the integrity of the safety systems that are in place. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that you're all here with us. Thank you to the firefighters for hosting tonight. I think all the candidates up here feel like we are what's between you and turkey dinner. It's a lot more pressure than between you and your lunch. My name's Cindy Jeffries. I am currently serving as a member of City Council. I have served on council from 2004 to 2013. And I was elected to Red Deer Public School Board as a trustee in 1995 and served through until 2004. 6 of those years I was the board chair and had great working relationships with our ATA local. I'm currently running to be Red Deer's next mayor. For me, this comes down to communication and relationships. There are, as we know, 2 sides to every story. And sometimes English can be difficult, even for those who speak it as a first language. Getting to the table and having good conversations and understanding how each side perceives something will be critical in moving forward. I can confidently say that the council that's currently finishing up this term never raised our hands in hopes of putting anyone in an unsafe position. I look forward to working with good relationships and building on and rebuilding trust that we have benefited from in this community for many, many years. Between 2004 and 2013, we had fantastic working relationships with our staffing groups, EMS, IAFF, all of them. And if we're on a bit of a rocky road, I'm prepared to do the hard work with you to try and find the middle ground and work through this for our community and for the benefit of all. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
That's the first of several common sense solutions I have. Hello, my name is Calvin Goulet-Jones and I'm running for Red Deer City Council. I want to share part of a notice of motion that I drafted in August. And if I have the honor of being elected, I'm prepared to bring it forward as soon as I am able. Whereas, the city's current dynamic staffing model, which allows fire engines to operate with fewer than 4 firefighters, directly conflicts with Red Deer's own policies and the broader NFPA 1710 standard, increasing risk to both the public and our first responders, and resulting in repeated closures of Station 2. Therefore, be it resolved that Council direct administration to immediately end dynamic staffing and to ensure every engine operates with a minimum of 4 firefighters at all times. That is my commitment to you. To work with council to make sure that Station 2 never shuts down again, and that public safety always comes first. And I'll just add, this is an emotional issue for me. Everyone has, if you've experienced a child in need, minutes away from dying, this is important, and I'm there for you.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Beck. First, I'd like to thank all the EMS personnel here. Thanks what you guys do for a living. Keep us safe while we're at home and in our beds. It's much appreciated. As a candidate, I'm committed to advocating for transparent dialogue through understanding the current risk management approach of our EMS personnel. The significant overtime costs signal a mismanagement at some level. We must identify the upstream deficiencies driving these costs to address the root causes effectively. Currently, Red Deer is the only city in Alberta that is willing to operate one of its fire engines with just 2 staff members, and closing a fire station in a growing city does not seem like the right path forward. We need open conversations to examine how we arrived at this point, hold ourselves to the same standards as other municipalities, and adopt a new approach to ensure the safety of both our EMS personnel and the citizens of Red Deer. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Clerks. I'm running for council. I don't have a political background. I have run for office about 3 times now. Once for federal and 2 for municipal. I've lived in Red Deer for about 3 years now, and Alberta about 8 years now. Currently, I'm what you would call a digital creator, I guess. You know, we shouldn't even be here tonight for this, because you'll hear a lot of candidates up here talking about communication and transparency and accountability, none of which has taken place. I mean, we all just watched a group of people move a wall. It shows that when we work together, things can happen. But dynamic staffing, whoever came up with that name, it's not dynamic. It should be the minimum standard that we have for this city. And we should always be exceeding that. I want to hire more firefighters. I want to build another fire station in the next 10 years. And we're not going to do that unless we work together. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Don Robinson. I work for the city as a transit operator, so I know what the firemen are going through. I have 4.5 years of federal experience working with the Harbour government on farm subsidies, working with farmers coast to coast. I have municipal experience. I have provincial experience. 25 years of budgeting. I know what to do, how to save money, and how to spend money. Spend money to save money in lives. You can't put value on a life. And that's what we're doing here. Look at all the mothers, daughters, grandparents of the firefighters. I've lost somebody in a fire. I know what it's like. You cannot put value on any one of our firefighters. Not now, never. We all have to stand up and say, enough is enough, it's over. Management has to go. Thank you.
Good evening, Red Deer, and thank you to the IAFF for this forum and our conversations this evening. My name is Diane Wanchus, and I'm running for re-election as one of your city councilors. For me, council makes many important decisions, and dynamic staffing was one of them. It is one of many decisions a council makes. Our taxes, budgets, infrastructure and services, and more work ahead, including engaging with citizens, conversations before council makes decisions, and specifically on this issue, engagement with our employees, not only members of the IAFF, but all the staff unions, and as well, we've heard about transit issues. Conversations are often, as a city councilor, are getting into the operational bowl, but sometimes we must. And this is one in terms of future conversations. I come from a labor relations background, and this is a conflict. And what happens when we have a conflict? When City Council has a conflict with the provincial government, we look to having conversations and getting the right people in the room. If re-elected, I look to representing the issues here and the many diverse issues. And if you check out my leaflet, these are some. Play some bingo over the next council term, because these are some of the many issues, along with dynamic staffing, that will be addressed. Thank you.
My name's Chad Cron. My wife and I and our 5 kids live in Red Deer by choice. I ran for council in the by-election in the time before with 2 simple ideas. One is that Red Deer is a city absolutely loaded with potential, that we have the potential to be the most important city in Western Canada. And a big part of what my campaign is focusing on right now is that our potential is so much greater than our problems. And the other piece is asking people what's the next simple thing we can do to make this better. This works at the community level, asking neighbors, what's the next simple thing we can do to make this community better? And this also was something that I'd hoped to be able to bring in the city, in City Hall, talking to frontline staff. What's the next simple thing we can do to make this better? And in the year and a half that I've been there, we've made some progress, but not as much as I'd hoped. And wanting to get back, to bring more people to the table, to look for these incremental improvement ideas to make things better. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. My name is Ashley McDonald. I am running for City Council. I'm doing so primarily because I believe safety should always come before savings. Our firefighters are incredible. They show up on our worst days, no hesitation, no excuses. But right now, the city is using a dynamic staffing model, moving crews around or leaving stations shorthanded to cut costs. This might look efficient on paper, but when someone's having a heart attack or there's a fire across town, seconds matter. You can't put a price tag on response time. I believe every station should be fully staffed, every shift, every day. Our firefighters deserve stability, and our community deserves protection we can count on. So let's make sure Red Deer stands up for those who stand up for us. Please vote Ashley McDonald on October 20th.
Good evening, everyone. It seems like I'm always moving the mic lower when I get to the podium. Doesn't matter, but that actually shows the why. So I'm here, and as your next mayor, I understand what hard work and commitment to community looks like. I have deep roots in Red Deer. My wife, daughters, and I were all raised here. We went to school here, and we built our lives in this place. Let's get this right. I love Red Deer, because Red Deer is full of opportunity. Working in the family business, Fairview Grocery, I learned to listen to what people had to say. And that's a big part of it. Because later on, I went on to be National Director of Operations for organizations like the Pattison Group, the Home Depot Store Leadership Program. But throughout that journey, it always taught me that change is inevitable. And you have to be a part of that change to understand it. So I will never say I know what's going on in the mind of a firefighter. I wish I could get out there every day and be with them and see what they're going through, because there's root causes to why overtime occurs. And that's brought this issue to bear. So working with that, I say what those learnings have taught me is that you have to work hard, but you also have to work smart. So in my campaign, I'm hearing residents say they want to see a city run by trustworthy council that listens, puts their safety and emergency services as a priority. That just makes common sense. That's why we need to boldly move ahead. I will work to change our emergency services model by separating firefighting service from paramedic response. We can solve staffing and cost issues, which have been plaguing us for the last 4 or 5 years. That's how I plan to lead. That's how I plan at looking at solutions. And I can't do it alone. We have to sit down at a collaborative table with our administration, with our local, with the mayor's office to make that dream come true. And I'm committed to doing so in a better Red Deer. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's a lot of faces. I'll try and keep this short so that way we can get to all the questions for everyone. Hello, my name is Anthony. I'm running for council candidate. I come from 10 plus years in the oil and gas industry, working as a safety professional or safety advisor, working alongside fire medics. As your potential counselor, I look forward to collaborating with first responders to figure out how we got into this situation and how to best get out of it and get to where we need to be. To all our firefighters and first responders tonight, I apologize that we had to get to this point, but I do thank you for all that you do.
My name is Buck Buchanan, and I'm running for City Council. I guess this isn't the place to start making bad jokes about the firefighters as an ex-policeman, eh? Anyway, I think for me, a lot of this started when we went to the integrated, we had the integrated service, and then the province decided they were going to change that model. And with that model being changed, things have, in my opinion, have gone downhill. I've had a lot of situations, folks, in emergency situations where, obviously the police and the fire show up together, and when you've had somebody die in your arms, then you start to realize what safety's all about. Or you've had to knock on somebody's door in the middle of the night and tell them that their loved one isn't coming home. So we need to fix whatever's going on with this dynamic model staffing. I know that in policing we've run with this far too long, and I got to tell you, folks, I've gone to far too many funerals of members, both firemen and policemen, and I don't want to go to any more. So we need to fix it.
Great, thank you all, and thank you for being on time for the most part. I have my eyes on a couple of you. Just kidding. So obviously we're here for one specific reason, and that's to talk about staffing levels and safe services provided by firefighters. And I just want to say, in reviewing the mission, the commitment of the Red Deer firefighters, it's very simple: to protect the people of Red Deer and their property, and to ensure the safety of the members as well. And so we heard a few people preempt the issue of dynamic staffing and safe staffing. And so our first question, which is probably our most important for the evening, is, are you committed to ending dynamic staffing, implementing safe staffing, and if you're elected, how will you make that happen? And we're gonna go in reverse order this time. I'm gonna put you on the spot. You wanna start over there? Well, Buck, you showed up late, so I guess you better come back up here. You feel okay with that? We'll start there and then we'll go this way. How's that sound? Thanks, Buck.
Well, I apologize, folks. In my other life, I started doing body removal, so I was just at the hospice. So I just had to take a gentleman out of the hospice, so I apologize for being late. Yeah, I don't know how we got to this dynamic model. It should have never happened, in my opinion. We need to figure out, and as coming in, the dollars are are always stretched very, very thin. I know, you know, on this campaign, I've heard a lot of people talking about the double-digit tax increase, which has, you know, caused a lot of angst for people. So, but we have to, you know, ensure that it's safe. And I was talking to my daughter today, who's a police officer, and a good friend of ours, he's a Surrey firefighter, and they've gone to a 24-hour schedule. And, you know, again, I don't know how after 24 hours you're going to be effective, but that's what a lot of models. So again, we have to figure out what this looks like, and it has to be safe. I mean, in what we're doing, seconds count, and they mean lives, and it is lives, folks. So like I said, we got to fix whatever this is and try and stretch the dollars and figure out how to make it happen, so.
So the answer to the first part, yes, I would be committed to getting rid of dynamic staffing. Second part would be collaborating with the fire departments and firefighters to figure out how to best approach it. My going direction would be trying to find the staff that we need to acquire, so that way we can maintain our high caliber performance that our firefighters are able to go out and do, while trying to make sure that we are fully staffing the trucks.
So yes, dynamic staffing, as I alluded to in my opening comments, is probably not well, I know it's not the right way forward. And it's not the right way because of exactly what's happening out in the community right now. When has the community ever been wrong when we talk about our firemen and firewomen out on the streets? This is a core service of delivery. So that's why I look towards a different model. Bringing people to the table that have the frontline expertise to deal with the problem at hand, not keeping cost as the principal motivator to find a solution, but bringing the people forward to show us the way that we can get forward. Of course, we have to look at how operations are run and the best possible way in the best interests of everything, because we have so many other services to look after. We have our roads, we have our utilities, we have our police service, we have our transportation corridors. We have so much in this city that we have to keep our eye on the ball. But this is important, people. And I see it because half my family's in the healthcare service, and they see when a system gets so stressed to the point of breaking that they have no other option but to respond. And I think that's what we're seeing here. So that was my proposal, to put a new model in place that really addresses the root causes and looks at a better way forward for Red Deer.
Did somebody forget their phone? Oh, it's yours, okay. That's mine now. That's how I'm gonna fund my campaign. Sorry. So yeah, ultimately, dynamic staffing's gotta go. We as city council have got to take, how to put this? We're told time and again, or we speak time and again, and we say that we need to listen to the experts. We need to listen to the frontline workers. Well, the experts and the frontline workers have said, this was a mistake, this was wrong, it does not make us safer. So yes, absolutely, it's gotta go. If I'm elected, you will never see me vote in favor of dynamic staffing. You know, one of my biggest things, oh, okay, thanks. All right, so yeah, for me, in many ways, core services like the fire, police, and emergency response, they're not luxuries. They're the backbone of a safe, functioning society. You know, if we can find money for consultants and studies, we can fund fire trucks and frontline workers. Yeah. And I would say, I think the other part of the question was how we would properly fund or properly staff, you know, there's study after study is showing what the proper numbers are. We fall below them. To me, it's higher firefighters, fire medics. We need to increase our numbers so that we can actually do this. Like the biggest issue that brought about dynamic staffing was overtime. I don't know about you, but wherever I work, whenever there's overtime, it's because there's not enough staff. So hire staff.
So I want to assure you that everyone on the stage behind me and all of our emergency services all wake up every day wanting to make the city better. No one wakes up and says, I can't wait to make the city worse. Nobody on the stage is wanting to make the city worse. I'm sure of it. Yeah. Part of this came from City Council was told there's a $3 million overtime budget, and this was the solution that was presented to us. Is this the best solution? No. But in that moment, my framework is always, what's the next simple thing we can do? My assumption was that those conversations were happening with the firefighters. And I asked, this is happening. People are going, oh no, they don't have any solutions other than they just hate our solution. Since the campaign started, I sat down with the Firefighters Association and we sat for 2 hours, listened well, and asked good questions and figured out. And at the end of that meeting, we had 4 or 5 things we could try, 4 or 5 next simple things we could do to reduce overtime, to get staffing levels where they need to be. So I think we need to have the right people in the room and have a real conversation and reset the tone, the way City Hall has been talking with the firefighters, and find a way through this. To not do dynamic staffing, but find a way that everyone can win, because affordability remains a critical issue in Red Deer, and we can be able to do this together.
As stated previously, this is about a conflict and differences of opinions, different options, and more needed listening and communicating. For me, I also met with representatives of the IFF, and if it's new staffing, if it's overtime reduction, and as Chad had said, overtime reduction was a direction given to administration for all employees of the city. If it's needed, in this case, needed and adequate equipment for safety, if it's additional benefits, perhaps, understanding the challenges and the difficult situations that our emergency services and our police see in their roles, one cannot imagine. The mental health challenges that go with that. So perhaps there's needed mental health supports and benefit requirements for them. So if I am reelected, I certainly commit to having those necessary conversations with our city manager and colleague councillors on next steps. But I am a realist, and sometimes I'm often reflected on the phrase in government, what do you want us to do and how much is it going to cost us? So for me, this will be a budget decision, and if reelected, it'll be a challenge and consideration with among many other budget requests for our city. So I commit to you having those conversations, but at the same time recognizing the importance of our health and safety for our firefighters, our paramedics, for our police, all city employees going home safely. Thank you.
Hi, dynamic staffing has to go. I met with some of the firefighters for about an hour, and it all makes sense. As a transit operator, we go through the same thing they do. Management that thinks they know more than the frontline workers, and that's wrong. They have no idea what the firefighters go through every day. You know, they get called here, they get called there, and back and forth. They're like a yo-yo. And nobody ever says thank you. We need to thank our emergency services, all the women and men out there that do the best job in the world. Red Deer has the best firefighters anywhere. And we need to thank them now and every day going forward. and we're going to look after them by hiring as much staff as we need, because you don't put value on a life.
Ooh, free phone. Well, I've already said dynamic staffing has to go. I do like our fire medics program. I would like to see us hire more people, and if you wonder how that's paid, well, we had over $3 million in overtime last year. So that's rough math in my head, about what, 30 to 35 new fire medics that we could have hired. If I am elected to council, I'd like to see us hire 50 by the end of next year. And as I mentioned before, we got to look to the future. I mean, my platform has always been plan smart, build strong, and save for the future. Well, this is where we come to the part of planning smart and building strong, because we're going to have 20,000 more people added to our population in the next 15 to 20 years. We're going to have high rises. We're going to have a need for a fire department that is 24/7, 365. Thank you.
Yes, I would vote to end dynamic staffing. How? Well, I'd first start with voting in favor of Calvin Jones's motion that he presented, and getting a full roster for you guys to pull from rather than running shortchanged all the time. I've spoken with several of you, walked randomly into a fire station, picked up the phone and just called you guys, and some of you I know personally, so it was easier to have those conversations. The one thing that kept coming up that I asked, and no one seemed to have a good answer, which was really concerning, is I said, or you guys told me about the non-confidence vote on your own leadership, and it was extremely high. And I said, why wasn't that heard? Where did that go? It sounded to me like it just fell on deaf ears at the city. So that tells me right there, there's a breakdown in communication somewhere along the line. That needs to be addressed. Thank you.
I am 1,000% committed to ending dynamic staffing. And the question of how, well, I need 7 other councillors behind me and a mayor that will vote with me to do that. And that's up to you. That's up to you. Now, we are elected to do the hard work. We are the ones that should be having sleepless nights as councillors, not our firefighters wondering, am I going to be called in? Is there an emergency? Is there only 4 trucks running tonight? It's up to us as councillors to find those funds. And with the 7 people, I would actually like a unanimous, there was a unanimous agreement to go to dynamic staffing. What a signal it would be to have a unanimous agreement to end it. So let's do that.
Well, it's definitely a difficult situation. One of my colleagues used the word conflict, and I would agree. I think it's a lot easier to sit on this stage and talk about how you would solve a problem when you're really only familiar with one side of it or partial side of it. I also want to remind people that as a member of council, you have a duty to come into the council chambers with an open mind, with an ability to be persuaded by information that comes to you. So to stand here tonight and say, I will support getting rid of this, you've got a bit of a problem there, because now you are not living up to your oath as a new member of council, either old or new. So there's some challenges there. Doesn't mean we don't need to have a look at it. Council was faced with tough budget decisions. We were looking in the eyes of a double-digit tax increase, much higher than 10.5% that we ended up approving. I'm not saying firemen shouldn't be top of that priority list, not saying that at all. Administration came to us and said, you know what, our overtime costs in this city are $3.2 million a year. On a per capita basis, we pay the highest rate of overtime in the province. Perhaps we should try to deal with that. Dynamic staffing, it's not always called dynamic staffing. Other jurisdictions call it something else, but it is a model that is used in other cities within the province. Council, faced with these tough decisions, thought this might be worth trying. Now, we hear you and we hear the IAFF members. We understand that there are issues we need to resolve. It's not going to happen here in this room. It's not going to happen on social media or on billboards. It's going to happen when we get into the room and have tough conversations. We need to arrive at a position where we can address our overtime costs and where we can ensure the safety of our staff. We want you to go home safe at night, just as much as anyone.
Hi again. Absolutely, I think dynamic staffing has to end. It's important to remember that when groups like NFPA produce regulations, they've done the math, they've done the numbers, and those regulations are written in blood. We have always had a saying about that in industrial and safety. These things don't come about because somebody thought it was a good idea. We have to remember that these evolved to a point where this was where people demanded safer responses, because back in the day when it was all just privatized systems, it was however they could make them save the money. We have to stick to the people who know and the people who have seen it and the dynamic staffing. How would I do that? Immediately to support a motion like Calvin Goulet-Jones has, something like that. I mean, obviously we'd work it and figure out the best way to do it, and then move on to the next layer where, okay, how did we get here? To me, everything rises and falls on leadership. If your budget is that far over, you don't throw rocks at the men and women on the ground protecting you. You go to the leadership and ask, how did we let this happen? This is not a snowball that built for, I'm going to guess, a decade. And in my organizations, I would never allow for that to start with. So let's go ahead, get everybody to the table, get the conversations going on how do we address that portion of it and still maintain NFPA standards. Thank you.
Hi, good evenings. For me, I would be favored to ending staffing the current model. We know it's not meeting the safety for the firefighters or the communities. So if we see something is not working, we cannot really afford that. And safety, the community, and the firefighters should be the #1 priority. And how we do that? Budgeting, the budgets, they have to come in the first priority to make sure we allocate higher, more staffing, hiring to respond the time-wise, and also having 31 to meet all the same city size, other similar cities that we meet that requirement. So we don't understaff and put risky the men and women sacrifice their life for us. Thank you.
I don't think we would be here if dynamic staffing was working. I've met with members, family members of members, and the leaders of the IAFF, and we've discussed different staffing models. I think those on the ground have solutions as to what they need to feel safe so that they are equipped for the job. I think the biggest thing missing here is open dialogue, and that leads to reconciliation, and that's the way forward. Ultimately, everyone deserves to feel safe, heard, and respected, and that's what creates community.
Overtime dollars, can you hear me? Overtime dollars could, in my view, be cut dramatically by overstaffing. It would provide much-needed safety for everyone. Dynamic staffing is intolerable, and it has to go. It is time, after 20 years or more, to plan for new stations, equipment, and staff.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let me try to give you some perspective. If any of you think that our management team, our fire chief and our deputies think that we are trying to deliver an unsafe fire service to our community and to the men and women that provide that service, you would be sadly mistaken. They have your interests in heart just as much as everybody. City Council, when we debated the budgets, let me give another piece of perspective. Protective services, when you ask the question to our community, where does it rank in terms of priority? It's right up there. It's right at the top of the list. That involves the policing and our emergency services. So just so you know, the policing uses up 27% of your tax budget. Emergency services uses 21% of your tax budget. That's a huge commitment. That's 50% in round numbers of our budget. Parks uses 10% of your tax dollars. They took service cuts to support the other areas of our operation. So when you're a council and you're sitting there, and everybody here on their platforms has said they're going to keep your taxes down and reduce expenses. Okay, well, if you allow a $3 million cost overrun, you have to find it somewhere else. So it's going to be an interesting budget discussion in November and December with this group of councilors. And that is the discussion we're going to have, and we will have that discussion. And we will talk about whether dynamic staffing is still the right model or the right approach. But that's a discussion that's going to happen at budget time. So I just wanted to give you that perspective. This is not something that is easy for any of us. And I'm going to just personally say to the supporting spouses, loved ones of firefighters or policemen, I get it. My brother was a cop in Calgary. Every time he left the house, his spouse was concerned about what that next call was going to be to them. We get that. We understand that. We are not naive. We are trying to manage the city at the right level for our citizens to make sure we get the service we need for all of us. And we will continue to have this discussion.
You guys, oh yeah, can you hear it? I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in this industry. I think the firefighters are the experts. If they want to get rid of diversified staffing, then I think that that's what we should do, and I would support it 100%. Thank you.
As I started my comments at the beginning of the evening, I talked about this as being a complex issue. Our council has spent hours on this particular matter from both a safety perspective and what the expenses are. We had 2 motions that were addressed on the confidence in our chief and also the staffing model that we were working with. These were difficult and challenging deliberations. Some of you might remember a guy by the name of Paul Harvey. He had a radio show. and he would bring up pieces of news or past history and add a little bit of light to it. And at the end of that, he would say, "So now you know the rest of the story." There is more to the story than this, and this has been the challenges that this council has had to face around this particular issue and how it fits in with our entire community and the services that we do. I am resolved to negotiate and work together as a team to do this, but it's important that we have all of the information so we can make the best decisions. That may require compromises in other areas as well, but I want to make sure if we're moving forward with any of these directions that we do it with the full knowledge of that, and that we'll be able to keep our commitments to our community around some of these very, very challenging issues. We faced a significant tax increase last year, and we know how our community reacted to that. We know where the citizens are in regards to those costs, and the firefighting piece is such an important service, as Councillor Dirksen talked about. It is one of our top levels of services, the ones that we commit the most dollars to, and we need to make sure that we're making the wise decisions with that. And that needs to be done together in a spirit of respect and understanding between council, administration, and working with the IAFF. And that is my commitment. It's tough, tough work. It's incredibly difficult work. It plays on our emotions. We realize what some of those consequences are, and yet we have to make those kinds of tough decisions. Thank you.
We all bring our own context to this particular issue. I'm a teacher, have been for 33 years, and recently I have been a school administrator where I am running a budget for a school. 97% of my budget is for staffing. I got a couple of nickels left over after that. But I could not imagine dynamic staffing in a school. It happens. Imagine the physics teacher is suddenly doing shop with 60 kids. Not safe. So as a teacher, I like to learn, and I've had some really excellent conversations with members of our current city EMS, but I also have some family members who are in emergency services who used to be here in Red Deer, and a county firefighter, but we won't hold that against him. And what they say is that you put your dollars where they're going to do the most good. And in this particular thing, when they see us on our very worst day, we need to have people in the right spot. And we need to give them the equipment and the support and the ability. And one of the things that really shocked me was that they get $500 for mental health in a year. And I know my job can be pretty tough sometimes, but I could not imagine theirs. Let us look to change. I'm looking forward to learning about all of this. But in my mind, we put our money where it does the most good, and that is in the safety of our citizens.
I firmly believe when it comes time to making any decisions, the voices who live within the impacts of those decisions should be the loudest and the most valued at the table. The voices most impacted by this decision are our firefighters, and they have spoken. As far as what we do to try to make this better, we have a hole to dig out of to begin with. We are sitting at the same staffing levels as we had in 2009. In the same time, our city has grown by about 27,000 people. You want to know why we have extreme overtime costs? Because we do not have enough staff. Something else is, for a city of our size, we should ideally have 6 to 7 fire stations. We have 5. We have work to do. Something else, there's lots of big decisions to make, and we need to make sure we have the best information possible to make decisions, and we need to make sure our comparators are level ground. We had talked about, the city had mentioned there will never be less than 4 people at a structure fire, and that is what is happening in Medicine Hat. It's working for them. What they failed to mention is that can be 2 different engines showing up with 2 people on board. That is not safe for the firefighters, it's not safe for community. When you think about something, the moral injury that people that are already in a very high trauma job face, I do not want to be one of two people that shows up in a rig, waiting and knowing I cannot go in until another rig shows up. We've reached a situation where this cannot continue, and we need to work towards that, whatever that means. We need to start from day one.
I'm going to take a little longer because I was on time. Let me put a little perspective. And by the way, sorry, in my opening statements, in my eagerness to share, thank you firefighters and EMS for inviting us here tonight, and I have talked with many of you. Let me give you some real-life situations. If you think that being a firefighter or an ambulance attendant and picking up body parts isn't mentally strainful, my first real encounter with a real accident as a manager was a young man who got wrapped around a shaft in a sawmill in Vanderhoof, and I had to help remove him. I think about that every time I see a situation where somebody is in an unsafe place. I was in a serious accident in the end of June. Adam and his crew showed up. They were the first ones. Here I am stumbling around, not knowing where I was. 3-car pileup, totaled cars head on. I could have staggered out into that street because cars were still going by, but they were there, stopped me. So if we think that dynamic staffing is good, in industry, we know it's not. We create spare boards and part-time people. We don't require workers to work double shifts because it is a known fact in industry, when you get to 12 hours, and in some cases 10, you are totally unsafe because your reactionary time, your thinking time, and when somebody's laying there and needs your full attention and you aren't prepared, don't blame them if something serious happens there. It's because we haven't staffed properly. Now, if you think that money is the issue here, it's not. It is to some people, and I get it. I know how finances work too. I'm not a CA, but I've handled many budgets, many big projects. What's at stake here is your safety, my safety, and every firefighter and EMS. And by the way, Calvin's motion will get voted on positively when I'm mayor.
This room does not shrink the more time I sit there. So there is definitely an accountability gap I've found just listening to some of the outgoing councilors that are here. The policy is a result of leadership decisions. We note the fact that 3 mayoral candidates and 4 incumbent councilors unanimously voted for the current fire chief who implemented the dynamic staffing policy. Non-confidence vote. The gravity of the situation is underscored by the paramedics delivering a vote of non-confidence in the chief, with 87% of membership demanding a change in leadership. Council's public stance. Despite the union's non-confidence vote and the detailed report, Red Deer City Council publicity reaffirmed its full confidence in the emergency services leadership, stating that they are balanced operational needs and financial responsibilities, as you've heard tonight. And the public safety standards are being met. This demonstrates a clear endorsement of the policy and by incumbent government. There was an obvious disconnect between the information supplied by administration to City Council and the operational reality faced by the frontline fire medics. The fire medics have shown an ongoing willingness to work collaboratively with administration to find solutions, but this willingness has not been reciprocated. I would vote no. Thank you.
Thank you all for those very thoughtful answers to a very, very challenging question. I want to move on to talk a little bit about, more generally, whether we feel like this city is on the right track or the wrong track. And the reason why that's important is we're having that conversation across the province in municipalities and counties everywhere right now. And a few people have brought up the balance and the tension between fiscal responsibility on the one hand and core services on the other. And I think we're all smart enough in this room to know it's not one thing or another, but there is a tension in Red Deer, I think, that is very apparent as I listen to the answers about safe staffing levels and decisions that have previously been made and how we're going to deal with those decisions and readdress them potentially going forward. And so to get back to a general question, do you feel like currently today Red Deer is on the right track? And if not, how do you get it on the right track? And if so, why is it on the right track? Let me rephrase that very simply. Is this city on the right track or the wrong track? And what are you going to do about it? Okay? All right. I'm not going to start with you. I'm going to start over here this time, actually, and we'll go back this way. Anthony? Did I start you last time? Oh, gosh. Who put me in charge? We'll start here, and we'll go all the way around. Thank you. No
problem. Do we feel like the city is being run properly? I would say yes and no. There are good people on this stage that have amazing ideas, and I've learned a lot about them over the course of this campaign. And I would like to say that each individual person here on the stage is a good person. But there are definitely gaps in leadership that we've seen from the council over the last couple of years. And I would simply say, is Red Deer doing the best it can, the city itself? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not behind those doors. There's a lot of context that I'm missing. However, nobody here seems to, like all the door knocking that I've done, and I've talked to a lot of different people from a lot of different angles in the city, business owners and the such, that don't think that the city is being managed properly. And so I don't know what the fix is, but we need to collectively come together as a team to try to figure it out. Thank you.
Loaded question or what? So is the city being run properly? I agree with Christian. In some areas it is. I mean, there are some good things going on here. Council has done some good things, so let's give them credit where credit's due. In emergency services, homelessness, budget spending on questionable projects, mental health issues, housing. We have 3,000 hospital workers coming to this city in a very short time from now. We have, I'm told, 1,000 construction workers coming ahead of them. Where is our housing plan that's going to house them? Are they going to Gasoline Alley? Going to Sylvan Lake? Going to Innisfil? Black Falls? They belong here in Red Deer. We should be the center of the hub of Alberta. Are there changes that can be made? Absolutely. If you change nothing, nothing changes. If we want to progress in a different direction, if we want responsibility, transparency, and good cooperation with the city and the citizens in this city, and this conversation, and I agree with whoever said that this conversation should never be happening around fire safety and EMS. It should have been settled long ago. And I say that with confidence and experience, because I have settled with steelworkers and IWA, some of the toughest unions in this country, and I never had a plant go on strike. But the key to that was the round table, the discussion, and the agreement reached in the middle of it. It's not solely about money, and sometimes we have to eat that. So let's be cognizant of the person beside us, of the person who's going to need help, of the person that is working to give you that help. Let's give everybody an opportunity, and let's get some change.
As far as if we're on the right track or wrong track, there's this saying that you don't have to be sick to get better. And there's areas definitely where there is sickness, but we are doing things right as well. To me, one of the most important things is, as councillors, we need to remember we are representatives of you. When we vote on a policy, when we propose motions, it is to carry your voice forward. And that is where something where I think we are completely lacking. And in the last 2.5 years, I've knocked on thousands of doors, talked to so many people, and so many people feel like their voices are not making it to council chambers when those decisions are made. They're certainly not reflected in decisions made. So that's absolutely a first step. We need to give our citizens trust and confidence in what happens in there so they want to be engaged. And that is the responsibility of people on the stage, not for the public to be the ones to show up. We need to give them a reason to show up, and that has been lacking. So I think that is absolutely a very first, most important step to make sure that we are doing our jobs as councillors, that when we go into rooms, we are educated and we are bringing your voice forward and making policy that represents your needs.
I too have a very tough time talking about right track, wrong track. I would rather go down the track. We need to move forward. Whatever has happened in the past is the past. We need to actually take a look at what Red Deer will be like in 5 or 10 years. That's where we need to have our focus. If there are mistakes happening today, that means that tomorrow we have an opportunity to fix it. My family came here in 1975. I remember the summer that Andrews Park was built, 200 houses in the summer, right? Red Deer has had ups and downs. We've gotten out of the troughs. We need to remember those times when things are good, and we need to emulate that every time. Let's create some stability. Let us take a look at ways in which that will actually happen. Let us help all of our neighbors. We've talked a lot about health and safety tonight, and that needs to be a focus for every single citizen in our city, because there is some very hurting neighbors in our downtown area. We take a look at the economic aspects of downtown, and it could be so much better. So I'd rather talk about down the track. Red Deer has great potential, and we need to tap into that great potential. We do need to address the issues, but we need to make sure that we are always looking for the next best thing that will provide stability, safety, and sustainability for all of us.
This is my first term on council, and I have said we have faced some challenging times, and there's no doubt about that, and those are the concerns that citizens around Red Deer have. But I think we've worked hard on trying to address many of those. Probably the biggest piece is the long-term financial sustainability plan that we have put in place. And this is based on a number of years of challenging processes, policies, many areas that were needed to be done. And much of that was done by a fresh perspective of new councillors that were part of the audit committee. One of the things that I brought into play was saying we need to have public representatives on our audit committee to provide that greater assurance in regards to our finances. Finances are our most important issues because it provides the opportunities for us to do all of the other services that we want to bring. Another challenge that we've had is regarding economic development. My family has been involved in development across the city for many, many neat projects, and it's neat to see that. I remember those days when we were in a boom economy, but we have not had economic development done right. And yet, this council has had business people come forward and give a new economic development plan that's been driven and led by business. Yes, we've had some challenges and we need to continue working on that, but I think this council has been courageous in regards to some of those efforts. Have we been perfect? Has every one of my votes been right? No, I will be the first to admit that. One of the pillars that I have in my platform is we need better conversations. We need to ask citizens and businesses and other people first, and then we need to make decisions. Too often, we say, we've got this great idea, what do you think? We need the citizens to be part of that process to begin, because that's how we earn trust. We need to earn trust on this issue as well, and we need to do that together, and we need to do that with a spirit of trying to do the very best we can on one of the most important services that we have in our city. So those are some reflections on the first term. We've got a lot of work. We've got some incredible people behind here who can help make Red Deer better. We need some experienced perspectives. We also need some fresh perspectives. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I think one of the biggest problems in Red Deer right now is our dwindling tax base. We've lost a lot of businesses, there's a lot of vacancies, and so with the increase in the taxes, it feels like the burden has been shifted to homeowners to make up the difference. And so we need to do a lot more to incentivize businesses to stay, to invest, and to come back to Red Deer. We've lost a lot of businesses to the county. What's going on there? What are we doing to make Red Deer an attractive place for businesses to open? Are we following through on promises that we make to businesses when they start up downtown or whatever? I feel like we make a lot of promises and then we drop the bag. And so we need to really be serious about that and get focused on that. As a homeowner, we cannot continue to pay 10% tax increases. It's ridiculous. I feel like there is some waste going on, and I don't know all the specifics, but when I get in there, I plan on being transparent with you guys. I plan on asking, what are your priorities? I didn't know anything about this bridge move. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm not sure that that was a priority that needed to happen right now. Another interest that I have in changing in Red Deer is making it way more accessible. Right now, I mean, we think we're being accessible, but as someone who faces it firsthand, we could do a lot better. And rather than just being the basic, let's be the best, and let's really see what other people are doing and try to follow those models or learn from cautionary tales. I think that Red Deer is a beautiful city. We have a lot of potential. We have great people, all of you here tonight that are invested and cared enough to come out and hear. And yes, we will work together, but the first thing we have to admit is that we're in a really bad financial state, and that needs to change because people on a fixed income cannot continue to pay more and more and more and get less. So if you feel the same way, please vote for me on October 20th. Thank you.
So I might have one regret. I met with a number of these candidates who were new on the stage, and they asked me what advice I could give them for their campaign. And I said, well, you have the freedom. You can say whatever you want because you're not responsible for any of the decisions. And they're taking my advice seriously. So I'm going to start with one thing in terms of the right track, and I'm going to just go back to our support for our fire chief and our fire deputies. I still support our fire chief and our deputies. They're fine men. They make decisions that are in the best interest of our city. I get that there was a not confidence motion. We don't know how that vote took place or what was on the ballot. And I also don't believe that most of the members here tonight would actually agree that we could personally attack our fire chief on a billboard. I don't agree that they actually support that. As far as our city and the right direction or the wrong direction, absolutely the KPMG report indicated that we have serious shortcomings with respect to our policy, our budgeting, and the financial challenges. Our administration has been, in the last year, coming forward and making those admissions and going back, and I talked about the capital budgeting from before, went back to 2010 to reconcile past capital projects. We are making progress, we're on the right track, and I'm hoping that I can be part of that to continue that progress, but you guys get to choose.
I got it. I got it. In 2006, we had 5 fire stations, fully staffed. In 2025, we have 5 fire stations, not fully staffed. This question was about current leadership. How many deputies are needed? I suggest bringing that back to the 2006 level. I'm not sure that this is correct or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. Am I in favor of a new fire chief? I suggest that the membership spoke loudly and clearly, and I'm listening. Thank you.
So I realize that costs have been downloaded on our municipality, and that has led to challenges in a number of different areas in the city. I think open dialogue and listening to those on the ground can help chart a path forward. As mentioned in my opening statement, we are dealing with a number of public safety issues. This has also impacted growth and investment in our city. I would like to bring my expertise in the social sector and criminal justice realm so that solutions can be found and implemented. I think this perspective is needed in council chambers so that council can be proactive and advocate for what we do need to higher levels of government rather than advocating for what we don't need and reactively spending tax dollars on band-aids after services are removed. Reactivity is impacting our budget on other lines.
So the question was asked, is our city moving to right direction? I would say yes, because when you admitted your mistakes, I think you move into right directions. So we have to really appreciate that. And moving forward, how we can fix it as a new elected council and mayor to work together and fix it, those mistakes moving forward, because it takes the whole community to come together to make it this right. Thank you.
Again, yeah, that's a very big, big question. I would say overall direction, no. I agree with many people. There are a lot of things that are going quite well. Big picture, it's a no, and that's part of the reason why I'm running. In the 32 years that I've been in Red Deer, I've had tremendous opportunities. I've been able to go from trades to the boardroom. I have made all kinds of moves around. I've raised 2 amazing children. I have 2 fantastic grandchildren. The opportunities that were there have stalled, and that is what convinced me to run. I can now bring all that experience and education that I've collected over the years back to the city. So how am I going to go after making it better. It does start with getting the financial house in order, but we have to remember there's a lot of people talking about cuts and things like that, but there's a numerator and a denominator. So we aggressively go after the industries that we want. We prep and prepare different regions for them, specifically for those industries. And then we trust the Economic Development Committee that was just formed. I've had a great opportunity to talk to many of them, and there's some incredibly talented people on there. So let's trust them to go out and hunt for the businesses, which is going to bring the jobs, which is going to bring the population, increase the tax base. However, at the same time, we have to remember there are numbers. You know, you reach a critical mass and you have to expand your services. So we have to be prepared to understand that there's costs associated. I tend to agree with Gail where there are recommendations out there that tell us how many firefighters, how many fire halls we need for our staffing ratio. Let's go to that, let's target it, but aggressively get industry to come in, and that's how we pay for it. It's a big, and there's a lot more. I mean, we could go on for hours with this one, but I'll leave it there, and I'd love to chat with people more afterwards because I've got a ton of more ideas, so thanks.
We've been having pretty serious conversation here tonight, and I understand and see the concern on your faces. The good news is we're here and we're having this conversation. A couple of weeks ago, I met with a couple of members of our IAFF, and we had a great conversation. I have full faith that we will be able to work through the issues that concern us and divide us at this point in time. Red Deer has a history of doing that. Red Deer has solved many issues and risen to many challenges in a problem-solving way and in a celebratory and building way. I trust we'll get there. Just to be clear, this council that is just now outgoing voted in the 2021 budget and approved 34 new positions. So we have made some strides to match and meet staffing needs in our community. I want to be the mayor of Red Deer because I think we can do better. I think there's room for us to stand up for our city on an advocacy front when it comes to the province and the federal government, provincial and federal. We need to build housing. We need to solve, and well, we won't solve it overnight, our homeless issues, but we need to move forward on that. We need tangible change on that front. I also believe that economic development happens when we work together. We've talked about an ad hoc committee that has recently been formed and has brought good recommendations to council. For me, Red Deer's been a little bit asleep at the switch, if you will, over recent years. We've missed some key opportunities that perhaps could have come to our community. We need to ask ourselves, how can we, and what if, and how do we get to yes? We can do this, Red Deer. There's so much to be proud of in this city. We all live here, we enjoy parks and trails. We have lots of community opportunities together. We can't think that it's all bad. We will work through this, and I have full trust that we can do it in a good way together.
I am very pleased that the city has added 34 positions. My goal would be to fill them and not leave them empty. The city needs to get back to the basics. Strong core services, a thriving business sector, and a city that communicates with its people. So I want to talk about communication. How many of you remember last month, you can raise your hands if you want, when the city released a letter saying that we are safe with dynamic staffing? Anyone want to raise your hands? No one knows about that letter. Okay, well, that letter was shocking to me. When you have a letter that talks down to Red Deerians, that treats people in this room like they're children, there's a major culture issue there. And we must remember, at least for myself, if I have the honor to be elected, I am elected not to serve myself, it's to serve you.
It's to be your voice. It's not to make excuses and say, hey, this is a budget issue. It's to serve you. And if you want those positions filled, it's to find a way to do it. So yes, this city is on the wrong track, but we're not going to be for long. Mark my words.
The answer is obviously no. I don't think we're on the right path at the moment. But I'm very hopeful with the talent and the ideas that I'm hearing behind me. So I don't think we need to get doom and gloom about it. I think there's going to be changes made. I'm very hopeful about that. But some of the challenges that we're facing here aren't just unique to Red Deer. I've been in other parts of the province and the country, and a lot of these same challenges we're seeing everywhere. There's a lot of variables that are playing a part in that. My only question, though, that hasn't been answered too, and I've spoken with many of you, and I have to wonder if council has been getting the right information communicated up to them in order to make informed decisions. I don't know. But I know there's no easy solutions going forward. There's only trade-offs.
First of all, on the subject of the non-confidence vote in the fire chief, it was 99% non-confidence. That should have been a red flag right there. That should have been the opportunity for everyone to actually sit down and communicate, but they didn't. You can say you had meetings, but we've seen from that letter that was mentioned that it's a top-down when it comes to negotiating and communicating in the city. Are we on the right track or the wrong track? The incumbents will tell you we're on the right track. And I think the citizens of the city will say, where's the train? Like, communication has been the biggest problem in the city. We have a plan going forward. That's great. What is it? Are we supposed to wait and see what happens? We have a development plan that's 13 years old. I heard mention of the Economic Ad Hoc Committee, so we just created that. I'm not even sure how that works. We have a lot of core services that this city needs to be responsible, and a lot of non-core services that should be transferred to other groups, like homelessness, drug addiction, even tourism. Things that the city doesn't need to pay for, that there are many groups out there that could be doing better. I say not need to pay for as much. We had a report from the chamber that we should form a society when it comes to homelessness and drug addiction, I believe it was. No, sorry, we're going our own way, was the response from the city. Well, look what happened. I don't even want to bring up the bridge. I live across from the bridge. 14 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week of 75 decibels of sound. 10 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock in the morning. Was it a critical project? No, but it was only when pushed was it mentioned that it would have been 6 to 8 million just to tear it down. Unfortunately, some history isn't worth saving. It's time to move forward, not stay stuck in the past. Thank you.
Are we on the right path? No. I see the fire trucks sitting broken down out at the civic yards every week. I see if they're there, they're not in the fire hall. What about our equipment? What about the firemen, firewomen, firefighter equipment? Is it up to date? Is it safe? Nobody will answer that question, but the firefighters will, and they'll tell you it's not up to date. So you got management issues. You have management issues in the firefighters. You have management issues in the transit. So if you have management issues in both of those, that means you have management issues all across the city. So would you fire the chief? Of course, because everything flows downhill. So the old councilors can say, oh, he's doing a good job. We hired him. Well, if you think that he's doing a good job, he's putting every one of the firefighters in EMS in jeopardy. So time is now. Let's make a change for the better. Thank you.
The question was, are we on the right or wrong track for our city? First of all, every city has wrinkles. Our city has wrinkles, and our role is to work with community and find solutions with our tax dollars. I appreciated the moderator's description of our city as an awesome city. And maybe we've changed a little bit, and those wrinkles are sometimes deep. And for the IAFF issue, yes, it's a deep wrinkle. But I'm going to focus on hope and possibilities and opportunities for our community, because that's what I would think if I was sitting in your chair this evening, what I would want for my leadership, my future leadership as a city council. So I'm going to give you a few highlights that I wrote down in terms about vision and our hopes and opportunities for our city. I appreciated my colleagues that are sitting at this stage that are talking about the work of the financial sustainability. It hasn't been easy. Was that 10% plus tax increase a difficult decision? Absolutely. But your leadership didn't kick the ball down the corner for the next council to have to deal with it. Let's talk about the recommendations of the Community Ad Hoc Committee. We need large, small businesses, new businesses. We need to retain our businesses. We have to think about opportunities for them in terms of their needs and listening to them. We need to talk about the ease of doing business of City Hall. And if you haven't seen the mandate letter yet from the Premier to the Municipal Affairs Minister, check it out, because that will drive a lot of what the next municipal councils will do, not only here in Red Deer, but throughout the province. Let's talk about the needed advocacy. I appreciated the comment about advocacy. There is only one taxpayer, and it's us. But guess what? We also pay provincial and federal tax dollars. And how difficult it was for Red Deer to finally get a Red Deer Regional Hospital. The advocacy for our city must continue. Let's talk about the needed advocacy for Westerner Park funding, which for us was a big hit in terms of giving that loan, but Westerner Park is an important part of our economy and what they bring to our community. And last but not least, for I don't know how many of you were at the homeless forum last night for the mayors that talked about homeless shelter and needs and housing, and the importance of, if you want our city tax dollars to pay for housing, we can, but guess what? We have so many other needs in our community. That is a provincial and federal responsibility that should not be downloaded upon us. So for me, it is about community. We heard that loud and clear at the forum with Build and the chamber, working with community to get things done. So I believe in hope for our city. I believe in possibilities, and I do have an iron, if reelected, to get rid of some of those wrinkles. Thank you.
So when I let off, I said I have two big ideas. The first big idea is that Red Deer is absolutely loaded with potential, that this could be the most important city in Western Canada. But somehow, we're not telling the story. That as I look around and I've met people at the doors, people have either been here less than 2 years or more than 10. And my family, we've actually just been here 11 years, so we finally got our more than 10 card. But people aren't telling the story of the incredible place that this is to live, the incredible place this is to set up business. I'm hopeful for the new Economic Development Committee to do a better job of telling the story, but it'll also be the next job of council. to be those ambassadors for our city, to let people know that our potential is so much greater than our problems, and to continue to build our city. And a city is more than pipes and roads and fire halls, but the city is the people that live here, the people that continue to work together every day and continue to make this a great place to live.
Hi, Ashley McDonald again. Before I get into the meat of the question, the first thing I want to say is it's very easy for us as potential councillors to take pot shots at the previous council. So I would like to start off by thanking Bruce, Cindy, Victor, Chad, and Diane for the hard work that they did. It's so easy for me to come up here and say I wouldn't vote the way that they did, but to be honest, I didn't know what they do. Like, I got kind of hot in my first comment about dynamic staffing, but I didn't know everything they knew. I've learned a fair amount from what Bruce and Cindy have said since they got a chance to speak about it. I didn't really understand all that aspects because, quite honestly, I don't think a great job has been done to communicate them to the people. Like, we're angry about the 10.85, I think it is, % property tax rate. But do we really understand why it was that much? You know, I've been looking into it. I've seen that, you know, some past years, there was a chance to keep, or an attempt, I should say, to keep taxes low so they weren't matched to inflation. So now we're paying that price. You know, if, say, previous in, say, 2020, 2021, 2022, it had been matched to inflation better to track what was going on in our economy, you wouldn't be paying 10.8. You'd probably be like a 5 or a 6% right now. You know, like a lot of people are angry about the bridge, you know, but the other day Cindy put out a video explaining it. Like, I had no idea it was going to cost $8 million to tear that thing down beforehand. Did I like the idea that $11 million was spent on it? No. But, you know, it's really not that bad once you think about the amount of money it would have cost to actually get rid of it and then probably replace it in a couple of years when people are wondering why the hell they can't go from one side of town to the other. Pardon my language. But to the meat of the question, are we on the right track? Kinda. I think there are very well-meaning people who are at the helm trying to do great things for the city, but I think in many ways we're stuck in old thinking. You know, one of the big things I've pushed for in my platform is we need to do an economic diversification of Red Deer. Like Hans talked about the ebb and the flow of our economy. Our unemployment rate's what, 6.8% last month, I believe it was. We're so beholden to the oil and gas industry that our unemployment in our local economy goes with where, you know, the Saudis decide a barrel of oil is going to be this day. We need to diversify our economy so that we're not so beholden, that we have a better, steady, sustainable tax base coming in. I think it was Haley talked about how businesses are leaving Red Deer. She's right. They're going to the county, they're going to other areas, they're just shutting down entirely. So the tax burden gets pushed onto you, the homeowners and the renters, because there aren't that many businesses out there to be paying their fair share. So if we want to lower the burden on the regular people of Red Deer, we need economic diversification. And that's a quick and easy way for us to get more money to pay for the things we want. And as Diane talked about, the mandate letter from the Premier to the Minister of Municipal Governments, please check it out. Like, it's not great. And unfortunately, we're, you know, I got a really bad word to use here and I'm not going to use it, but like, I think you all know what I mean. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you for holding out for this long. I know it's been a long evening and there's lots of tough questions here. This group, this forum, this community conversation, to me, it speaks to and is a great illustration of what we often face in City Council. I'll say this why. Because this isn't a you win, I lose type of scenario. This is a, we tried this, might have made a few mistakes. Did we learn some things on the way? Are we changing the things that we do that we can do better at? That's the right track. Because the minute you stop doing that, you stagnate and you literally flatline. I'll use that in this context. So for me, is the city on the right track? It's not linear. There are so many complexities. Is the issue today a bridge? Is the issue today a utility? Is the issue today dynamic staffing? Is an issue today our police contract? There are so many complexities that councils in the past have had to deal with. And the core principle of all of them have been, I ran on a platform to do things better for the city of Red Deer. I grew up in this place, my family grew up in this place. I know the people, it doesn't matter whether you're here 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 50 years. You came here for a reason. You're here for a reason to try and improve upon what you can do. You're voicing your concerns. Not everybody in this room is going to be happy at the end of the day. That is just reality. But at the end of the day, did we have the right plan in place, the right strategic plan, the right financial roadmap to get this city going again? Small business will be the success of this city because it always has been. Events that we are showcased that make us and put us on the world-class stage, producing Olympians here, hosting national events. 2019 Canada Winter Games, I never saw the community come together like it did then. Why can't we hold on to those? Why can't we learn what happened there and take that and bottle it up and put that thing forward? So that's the Red Deer I know. That's the Red Deer that gave me the memories, experiences that I have learned, and I want to continue doing that. Thank you.
What an amazing amount of passion and information my potential colleagues have been sharing. Is Red Deer on the right track? My opinion, everywhere has room for improvement, not just Red Deer, wherever you go. Ultimately, it's up to you, the voters. Do you feel Red Deer is on the right track? You guys have the right or the opportunity on October 20th to let us know. I will admit, I'm not an expert, but I'm happy to collaborate on an approach that doesn't sacrifice your health and safety to make Red Deer and get it on that path of great potential. Finding businesses or business supports to assist in achieving success so they can remain and grow in our community is going to be key to being able to help with that, as my colleagues have mentioned with the economic development plans. So that's what I got.
The right track. Short answer, probably not. Have we done a lot of things well in the past? Yes. Large organizations, in my experience, have a tendency to believe that the way that we resolve issues is by throwing human resources at it. That's how we build capacity. And I wasn't aware that council was in the hiring, firing business. You know, we've got one employee, and it's certainly not the fire chief. That's the city manager. So if there's a problem, and apparently there seems to be, then that's how it needs to be addressed. We need to build a team, and you folks are the people that are going to build that team. This is a we thing. This is not an I thing. I can stand up here and tell you all kinds of wonderful things about how great I am, but you know what? Without, you know, the people behind us here and building a team, are we ever going to move anything forward in this city? And right now, we've got an issue. It needs to be addressed. People are recognizing it needs to be addressed. So if that's the problem, then what's the solution? And we've got to get to that solution. And once we get there, we've got to continue it. So that's what I believe.
Great, thank you all. You know, I attended one of the Alberta Next panels and it got a little bit spicy, so I appreciate everyone being very, very respectful on a couple of very, very tense issues tonight with respect to things that are happening in the great city of Red Deer. We are at 9 o'clock. I'm gonna say that a lot of folks are heading for the door already because it's Thanksgiving weekend, which is totally understandable. But we have a great group of people here, and I'm wondering if you all would be interested, and if you all would be interested in opening up to the floor for a couple of questions before we wrap tonight. No? No? So for folks who are interested, you can stay, and if for folks who are interested up here, if you want to answer questions from the floor, we can do that. Okay. All right. We got a couple guys who can run some mics if you want to. Yeah. The fire guys want to do questions, but yeah. Well, I'm taking my shots from the firefighters.
Why don't we have some firefighters ask some questions?
Oh, that's a great idea. So we will take a couple questions if you guys want to go ahead. Raise your hand if you have a question. Don't be shy. Yeah, right over here.
I would just like to get some clarification, more information about the letter referred to by the Premier to municipalities, and what does that spell for us in terms of a framework or a mandate for the future?
Thank you. I pride myself in being prepared, and for those who have worked with me in the past, they know I take lots of notes and issues. So here's the letter. If you'd like me to read it to you, it'd be self-explanatory. Okay, I'll highlight, so it's basically from the Premier to Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs, Dan Williams. It talks about, of course, the piece of legislation that municipalities function under is the Municipal Government Act. And here's some of the ones that I have circled. Continuing working with municipalities and local businesses to benchmark, measure, and reduce the time it takes to approve permits to create a more attractive business investment environment. So that's changing how we do things at work. Review and engage in how government can support urban development that meets young Albertans' goals of home ownership and safe, affordable, attractive, livable, family-friendly communities that reflect Alberta's distinct values and heritage. In consultation with municipalities and the business community, explore and make recommendations for ways to limit excessive municipal property tax increases for businesses and residents. Develop and implement a strategy to protect Albertans from specialized municipal taxes directed at homes that are not a primary residence. And this one talks about complete development of an automatic yes permitting program, which will shorten approved timeframes for permits from City Hall. And streamlining approval processes and reduce impediments for all permitting overseen by the Municipal Affairs. And then there's a number of other issues, but certainly, and then Alberta municipalities work with rural municipalities, Alberta and Alberta municipalities. If you want to check out the responses and the interest, I would encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Any other questions from the floor? Yeah, right here. Go ahead. Do you need a microphone? We'll run it to you, but go ahead. You're pretty loud. You needed the mic, apparently. There you go.
I wanted to say I think the IAFF has done a really good job of bringing their concerns to light to our community, and so thank you for that, for being an advocate for what it is that you need. I do not have the answers. I would like to know for the candidates that are on the stage that wholeheartedly said that they would end dynamic staffing. I think we all recognize that it's going to take money out of the budget to fix that, and I think we all recognize it as a priority that maybe needs more focus than what it has gotten. So for the candidates that are new, that have not been on council at this point, where are you going to sacrifice the funds from other areas to support the investment in the firefighters?
Screw it. Here, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. All right, so it's not necessarily a function of taking money from other areas. It's a function, I have sat down with the union leaders, and they have ideas. There is options involved. They've really thought about this. Nobody wanted this to get to where it is. Now, there will be some that has to come, and part of the, I think a few people have talked about at other forums, getting a line-by-line account of everything, which is a long and tedious process, but that's, you know, that's what we sign up for. So we go through that, and then that's how we comb through and find it. So I don't have a direct answer of exactly where it's going to come from, but I have processes on how to find where it's going to come from. I'll just hold this.
Thank you very much for the question. So I've had an opportunity to talk to the union and a bunch of different people about this particular situation. And I would fully support a long-term strategy that leverages increase of casual hires for the paramedics. Now, if that would be, of course, in consult with the union, but the city is already currently doing that. So we need to hire more casual workers so that we can offset the overtime levels and bring in people when we need to. So they wouldn't necessarily be getting any benefits or anything like that. They're just covering shifts for people that are sick or off leave or anything like that, but it also reduces the overtime level for that as well. Right. So right now, I don't have the answers for that because I don't have the budget, but if we were to do that, like the city's currently doing that for casuals, if they have the money for that now, then we can possibly build on that for the future.
I have a question back for you. When you have a financial issue in your family, don't you start looking around for things that you might be more efficient? We're already paying $3 million a year in overtime. Let's go back to the Dillon report that talks about staffing, that talks about fire halls, talks about the safety and the very minimum that's needed. This idea, if we do need, and we do, because there are STDs, LTDs, and sickness, just like everybody else. If we have spare lists, and you're talking about money, I'm quite sure that if the budget is reviewed and there are things that are not necessary in this budget, and sure, we haven't seen the budget line by line, and we're probably never going to see that unless we get elected and we can look at that budget and take the fat out of it. Thank you.
Where's the lady that asked the question that wants a straight answer? I would advocate right away for selling off our electrical and using that one-time injection. I believe, if I've been told, you can get over 300 million for it. That's what I would advocate for. And then I would further advocate for, once that sale has working out in a deal, that we're also shareholders of that utility. So you continue generating the cash flow.
Your question there, I think the city pays a lot of overtime all over, and they don't have to. I know transit they have part-time workers that could work, but they pay the full-time overtime hours, and the 3.2 million that they've paid the firemen for overtime could go into full-time staff. And that would get a start on the more full-time staff.
So I studied to try to find out exactly what you're asking. And you go to the annual report, and do you know what fire services are lumped in with? Parking. How can I find out how much money how much money we're going to save? How can I find out what lines I can, move around when we're lumped in with parking? So we need to do a better job of transparency here, because it's frustrating for you right now, and I get that. But as someone who, I love seeing those numbers and seeing those webs and putting things together, it's very frustrating to me. And I got to ask myself the question, is this done on purpose? Is this done on purpose? And I know you're shaking your head, but why wouldn't the city be more transparent? We run into issues like this, and none of us have the answer. And so we just keep on going. And it's wrong. So we need, transparency isn't just a buzzword, right? We need to take concrete steps. So yeah, you say it's a public budget. I appreciate that. But I would ask you, go look for that budget. Go look for it. Dig deep. And if you have ideas, then let us know, because we got to solve this situation together. So thank you.
Sorry, Brad, thank you for letting me respond. I just can't handle when there's misinformation delivered to an audience of this size. The emergency services budget is absolutely not included in parking. So I'll just leave it at that. It's a public document. You can look at it. I've seen it line by line. To answer your question, I will say, that is why you have to look at a different way of delivery. My proposal to end dynamic staffing wasn't to say yes or no to dynamic staffing. It was to bring forward a model that released some efficiency, cost efficiency and resourcing by having a separate fire service. And I think that's something that's a discussion point for the current union to see if they would support that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. So we're at 9:15. So what we're going to do is invite the candidates to answer questions and have conversation with you all who are still here if you're interested. We have the room until, you can talk to all the candidates, but, well, no, we're going to have conversation because we're done, because it's 9:15. Thank you, though. Okay, no, I appreciate it. Yeah. No, it's a serious one. That's okay, but we're done, okay? Thank you. So we're going to...
Start with the Lord's Prayer at City Hall. Raise your hand.
I'm going to call that one out of order. Thank you. Okay, thanks for being here, folks. We have the room until 11, and we really appreciate it. Make sure you vote if you haven't voted already. That's my last thing. Thank you so much. I got the President, Brad Redmond, here, who wants to say a few words before we wrap up.
Thanks for that, Brad. Just quickly, before everyone leaves, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It was a great, a really big success for our local. As well, I want to publicly, once again, commit to working with all council that gets elected and continue the fight for safe staffing in the city of Red Deer. Thank you.